Hi. Everyone ready for this one? Yeah, come on. Yeah. Yeah. Look at the big crowd. My name is Ira Silverberg. I'm the literature director at the National Endowment for the Arts in the U.S. and a former literary agent. We were on a famous junket together to Abu Dhabi. Remember that? I used to be a junket whore, but then I joined the government. It's all over for me. We're going to talk about literary agents in translation, which is an odd topic because you are but a few of the very dedicated people working from a particular language trying to sell around the world. And we're going to focus our conversation on the US and the UK and the difficulties with getting translation in. Catherine Fragou from Iris, the agency in Athens, is going to launch. She's prepared some notes, and then we're going to go around the table, hear what our other panelists have to say, do a moderated Q&A, and hear what the problems are getting work from Greece into English.
Into English?
Well, amongst yes. Other, we're focused on English, but...
Okay. Hi, so my name is Catherine.
We're going to move that closer.
Okay. So my name is Catherine Fragou, and I'm a Greek literary agent. So I'm representing authors, Greek authors worldwide. But I mainly live on selling worldwide authors in Greece, as the market is small, but the international market for Greek authors is much smaller. So I will begin speaking a little bit generally, but always based in personal experience of 17 years agency. And I will answer to some questions Ira had written us, so it will be very basic, so it will be good for the beginning. What is the role of literary agents in today's world of international publishing is easy to say. Literary agents have always and everywhere the role of discovering and suggesting authors to international public, to publishers. They are also helping authors to find their audience, and especially in the international publishing, they are the necessary bridge between authors and publishers, of course, as they speak the language. Which is the joy of being an agent, is just reading texts even before to being published, and working, editing them. When it comes to a literary agency now from a small country, the problems we face are a lot. We have a lot of issues. So it's not only the barrier of language, that's for sure, but also the absence of demand. I don't know if it is really the absence of the market or the absence of the market as thought by the publishers. The absence of interest for Greek rights or Czech or Turkish rights, I don't know, for any small languages. So these first difficulties create a lot of other ones. It's difficult to have appointments in the fairs. So you can ask, even not answers to emails sometimes. It's difficult to persuade the publishers as they won't have a contact with the text, an immediate contact. They have to put somebody reading the text you're suggesting him. It's difficult to read because few readers exist from Greek in all countries. Some countries don't have any Greek reader. And it's difficult, of course, to translate as few translators exist. If we have a huge demand of Greek authors, we won't be able to translate all of the books in the same year, for example. I think it was also a problem with Swedish success, we know. And it's difficult to promote, which is the final and perhaps also very most important fact, is to promote. As publishers, I don't think they really believe that the books will sell, so they just publish them most of the times. So facing all that, the agent has to be stubborn, always optimistic, and lucky. So this is difficult sometimes.
Faithful and optimistic you seem.
Yes. This helps. Nature helps. So, what about the authors? What is demand? What is the authors? What publishers, foreign publishers, demand from the authors? So, the authors would have to be. First it was a question. It was as if they found easily agents. Not very much, because not a lot of agents exist. So. I cannot represent all Greek authors. I began my agency 17 years ago. I was literally a leading agency. For 15 years, nobody else did the job. 2 years ago, a second agency was created representing Greek authors worldwide. So, really, it's a small thing. So, the authors have to be and literary and also commercial, in being literary, having a language which is accepted by, understood by readers who sometimes don't read that well Greek. Sometimes, so the language can be a barrier if it is very poetic or very difficult. And in the same time, they have to be very literary to have the grants. So it's a difficult situation between being literary or being a commercial author or an upmarket commercial author anyway. And so the authors have to be of high quality writing with a particular perception of the word, and in the same time with a very Greek conception of the world, and very Czech and very Turkish, I guess. And their writing has to be so easy. No, now I'm selling the same things. I'm sorry. So, when we come to the text, the problem is also that sometimes we have translated extracts in English or in other languages, but it's not possible for somebody who doesn't know the language very, very well to appreciate and to know if the translated extracts are really good. This is for a bit more difficult text, of course, always. So, the Greek market has also some internal problems with the rights. Most of them have to deal with the way people are working and the absence of understanding the exclusivity and how rights work. So, for years, I worked with authors that didn't want to be represented exclusively. They wanted to be free to present their works to anybody they will meet.
Which I would suggest is an absurd concept in the realm of representation in this world.
Yes, exactly.
That we all live and work in.
Yeah.
Right.
And this happened also to publishers. They wanted to be free. So it was very difficult to find and work with sub-agents in that case, of course, because you cannot sign an agreement telling that you have the exclusive rights if you don't have them, and you cannot work. It's not possible. Anyway, fortunately, this seems to change. But sometimes, and I still have some problems with classical Greek authors of 20th century, that it's impossible to sell them because you cannot have a deal with them to sell them. I mean, not with them, with the family they have. Anyway, so this was a real barrier to classic Greek authors to be translated to the classic 50s, 30s in worldwide. So to speak more specifically about Irish agency work and achievements. So I told you already that I have worked for 17 years, and for 15 years I was the only agent representing Greek authors worldwide. France and Italy, with Turkey and Spain, are the most open countries to Greek translations. Germans are very interested, but they don't buy. And US and UK publishers are almost zero contact for zero sales. I'm the agent who first presented Petros Markaris. I sold the rights to 5 countries. Then Diogenes Verlag suggested him to represent him. He accepted. I represent Diogenes in Greece now. Apostolos Doxiadis was the second one of my big talents, who then decided to take agents who would translate his work before being translated in any country. So I couldn't do that. And then Eugenios Aranitsis, Christos Chrysopoulos, Christos Chomenidis, Babis Plaitakis, and many others translated mostly into French. I already managed to make 1,914 agreements by selling rights. Among them, 43 for Greek books all over the world. I never was able to find an English or American publisher to any of my authors, even though it's not the quality or diversity of their work that is to blame.
We're going to get to blaming the English, right? That's what's going to happen here.
I'm not blaming. Petros Markaris, for instance, was published by the publisher. I present him first, but he changed publisher. The publisher changed home, and he bought him 7 years after I presented him. So I didn't do the deal. So we all know that translation from foreign languages is about 1 to 2% of all titles in the UK. So, I mean, my absence of success is quite understandable. And I have to say that Greece is not helping a lot with grants, or not particularly in any way. So, speaking about practical problems, the matter is that from all the facts and situation described above, it's not financially possible to dedicate one fair to selling rights, to selling Greek rights worldwide. It's impossible. Half of the appointments won't come.
Are you suggesting that when you go to Frankfurt, it's not as successful as it should be, that
Yes.
you need to go to multiple fairs?
I have to be to multiple fairs because, as I told already, to live, I have also to sell, to do something else than selling Greek
So you're
authors.
selling,
I'm
selling
buying
the
and
rights
selling,
into
yes.
Greece from Diogenes
Yes.
and other, right.
Okay.
Right.
So it's impossible, which is bad, but it's impossible to dedicate one fair to selling rights. So this is a problem, a practical problem, a financial problem in first step that I have to face. So that's why I'm coming to London Fair. Frankfurt would have been sufficient perhaps, but London is a cooler, calmer place for rights than Frankfurt. And you can see people that they won't be able to see you in Frankfurt anyway, because they are so. So, to speaking now, because I'm also a comparatist, I will speak about literature and its reception, not only the financial and problems. So I think that Greece is more Occidental and European than wished. And Greek literature is resembling to the literature of the languages we aim more to be translated than wished too. What I mean is that I have often the feeling that foreign editors think that their public would be more interested in a different way of living and not in the narration of an external point of view of their countries, or in the description of an Occidental way of life. They think it's not Greek enough. But Greece has changed. I mean, since Kazantzakis, we are not living the same way anyway. On the other hand, I have to affront the fact that Greek authors cannot understand why traveling in Europe and other countries and giving their point of view of this traveling, which is not just tourist traveling, I mean they are living in other countries, why they don't interest the external point of view of these countries, how this cannot be interesting for these countries. We need a change of mentality on that. Authors and publishers, everybody, we need to become more open-minded. Western civilization is sealed in English language, and this can cause some problems because civilization needs exchange. I know this is too general, but it's close to reality. So if we take the need of change, thinking of that, what can help?
Well, maybe we can get to that after we've talked a few more people and find out what can help. Edgar de Bruin, out of Amsterdam, you're working on selling Czech writing around the world.
Yes, I do, and my main joy in doing that is I have an excuse of having a beer with my authors all the time. So, now the point, I do recognize quite a few points were mentioned here. I don't have a long statement as that. I'm representing about a dozen Czech authors. Maybe it's a matter of geography because Czech Republic is a neighbor of Germany. German publishers are interested. And if you take that into account, that our main target for me and for my colleague who was here as well, who's representing other Czech authors, our main focus is always on the German market, because as soon as you have a German translation, you don't have the problems with the language, because reasonable good publishers, they have editors who can read German. And if not, they're not good publishers, I think. So you can access them, go to UK, American publishers, and offer the book and have reviews from the German press, because that's a problem as well. Just yesterday I talked with a UK publisher who published a Czech book. He said, well, it's a gamble for me. I throw it on the market, what happens? Do the readers know about it? No, because nobody writes about it. It's not on radio, it's not on television, and there's no any review on it. So how do people know about it? What's the missing link here? That's what I want to focus on. The problem is not so much with the publishers. I think they're willing enough. If you got good quality to offer in books, they will buy it. They will publish it. They want to do it because they're not stupid. They're looking for good quality Greek literature, good quality Turkish literature, and don't talk about so much about commercial or how to adapt to it. The writers have to be stayed out true to themselves. But if it's good stuff, they will buy it and want to publish it. But if you publish as a UK publisher does 2 books and it won't sell, he won't do a 3rd book. Quite obviously he won't do it. An American publisher, Dutch publisher won't do it. Not any publisher would do it. So what are we missing here? We can bash now the American and UK publishers for not doing enough and say, well, there's only 4% of the whole book production is translation. But in absolute numbers, it's quite a lot, because there's so many books being published in America and the UK. So what are we talking about? But why don't we get these books to the readers? What's the problem there? So for me, it's maybe a bit more easy because I have this access to the German market and to the big German publishers. I don't have the access to the big American UK publishers. I think they don't give a toss about translations. So I have to be dependent on the smaller, good UK publishers here, like Portobello, Peter Owen, and others.
And you're selling to Portobello and Peter Owen?
Yes, I do. Well, not directly to Portobello. I intermediate with for some other author, but I sold the title to Portobello, to Peter Owen. I sold the title to Yale University Press, to Northwestern University Press, to Dalkey Archive in America.
So you're seeing some sales?
Yes, of course. One of the Czech authors being published by Dalkey Archive is Patrik Ožehník, Europeana. His book has been sold to 25 countries. It's been translated already to 25 countries. So it's now in Arabic, in Japan, Korea, and so on and so on. It's the best-selling foreign title at Dalkey Archive. So what are we talking about? Is that the problem? The problem, they're getting there. And also because it got some good reviews in America at the time, because somebody picked it up. Somebody wrote about it and said this is a top 10 title. So you have to have luck as well. But the problem is not the quality. The problem is getting to you, I think.
Do you have the advantage of a subvention program from the Czech Republic that's helping? Is there an opportunity for subsidy to...
There is an opportunity to get subsidy for grants for translations. But there's, as everywhere in these countries, there's a lack of money. So it's sometimes a kind of a lottery if you get it or not. But on the other hand, I should emphasize there's a very good European Union program, and you should make use of it, publishers, because there's a lot of money going around there, and publishers who are participating in this program, they get a lot of support, they get a lot of money for the translation from the EU. We're not talking about tens of thousands, they got millions they got to spend on culture. So make use of that. So, but there is a support for the translation, because translations are generally very expensive in the production for a book. A lot of costs have to be made for that. So it's good that they still have programs going on, and there is a Czech program for contemporary literature, and with a bit of luck you get it as a publisher.
Great. Nermin, Mollaoglu, thank you. Representing work out of Turkey throughout the world and in Turkey.
Yeah, both ways.
Right. You're the guest of honor. Welcome.
Well, welcome to be.
As the guest of honor, do you feel like there is some advantage this year with a focus on Turkish writing? Is this your opportunity to sell more into the English language market? And historically, what has the English language market been like for you?
Well, definitely I feel the guest of honor here. I always, walking around and looking at the translation center here. And since we are the market focus, now I am staying here. So this is good to be market focus. But I agree with what you mentioned about the markets. It's the similar market problems we have. But I think I was a bit luckier than you. I established the agency 7 years ago. It was the moment everything started to make the Turkey highlighted in political way, economical way. Even Pope came to Istanbul, and I established the agency, and there were two new agencies coming to represent Turkish writers. And the Minister of Culture started the translation project called TEDA, supporting Turkish literature traveling around. But when I decided to leave the publishing house I used to work to establish an agency, I thought I can maybe sell 2-3 titles a year from Turkish to other languages, not only to English, I mean internationally. And if I manage to sell like 500 titles from different languages into Turkey, I can survive and I can pay my bills. But I didn't expect that much, success. In the first year, I sold more than 100 titles from Turkish to the other languages. None of them was to English at that time. But I checked the numbers, how many books we sold over these 7 years. We sold 1,100 something titles, which is, I think, it's great success. And into 42 languages. That is very good. And the English translations among them are around 10. My big success was to Penguin, our classic title, sold to Penguin, and they will launch it this fall. British publishers didn't reply my emails in the beginning. They were like ignoring. There's a country called Turkey. They don't have it literature there. But now, I mean, especially this year, I got many appointment requests from big publishers, Bloomsbury, Orion, and many others. So it's very good to be market focused. And Turkey is very active, not only like in London, but also we were in Frankfurt, and we are going to Hungary and China. So it's everything together. It's not only me or the other agent. Is the government, publisher association, and everything should be together to reach the success. I was, especially during these 7 years, I was very closely in touch with translators. I know all the translators from Turkish to the other languages. I have their data, and I know what they like to read, what they have translated so far. This is very, important information for me. If I go to Japan to talk to the Japanese publisher, if I cannot recommend the translators to Japanese publisher, my meeting is nothing. They will forget about it. So, and thanks to Literature Across Frontiers, to Literature Center here, they've been doing great support to find out secret translators. They are good to promote. They're actually my agents. I mean, I look at the translators. So you are my agent. Promoting Turkish literature, talking to the people, to journalists, and they get informed about which title is possible to translate. So this is what I can say.
Well, it raises an interesting question. How many of you as agents are working with readers on the ground, working with translators on the ground, working with other interested parties on the ground to try to get the work of your clients picked up?
You mean?
I mean,
Depends on the country.
here's a room full of translators, for instance.
Okay.
Do you all, it sounds like you have active relationships with translators who are
A lot,
helping.
yes.
And I'm wondering about my other two colleagues here, is this part of your sales technique to get to know translators in each country, or specifically in the US and the UK, who might be able to do readers' reports and sample translations? Has this been something that, if you haven't yet done, do you think would be helpful?
I've done it, yes.
And you've done it, yes, and it's helpful, or?
Yes, it's helpful. I know almost all translators who translate from Czech literature because they're on the front row. They know their own market better than I do. Though I do I speak to publishers on a different level, but they do the hard job because they pick out I'm a translator myself. I translate Czech literature. And it's not so much different of being an agent or being a translator from such a small language, because I used to go around to Dutch publishers, say, you have to take this Czech book because I want to translate it. So that's how translators work. They from small languages. You don't get commissioned so very quickly on a book to translate. So from these small languages, they have their own things they want to do, and they can either come to me, or because they like the authors I represent, or come to my colleague because she has authors they like. So you cooperate with each other. They do a sample translation. We ourselves do, of course. We write the synopsis in English, in our own techie English. We write a synopsis, but publishers understand it, and that's how you work. But you can support each other. Though I can't promise they will get a job when the publisher decides to get the book.
So you found that sometimes the translator who does a sample can help you to sell the book, but then won't get the job.
Well, I haven't yet met with that, but it is, of course, it's prerogative of the publisher to decide who to take, because a publisher can have a long-standing relationship with a particular older translator. And then a new kid comes around and they say, yeah, it's a good book, but we're going to give it to the older guy.
Right.
Which is, of course, bad.
Catherine, is there a subsidy program in Greece that's helping to get work out? I mean, given we know there are economic issues.
Yes. It is half European, so it works. And it is Phrasis, the name.
And it's fast.
Phrasis. No, Phrasis is the name.
Francis.
Phrasis.
Phrasis.
Phrasis, which is sentence.
Okay.
Meaning, yes. It is a help, but we don't have a lot of translators from Greek. So I have some contacts, but most of the readers of Greek are not interested in reading. Most of the people who could be readers are not interested in being readers.
If there are any modern Greek translators in this room, if you could leave your information with Catherine,
it will be helpful.
It would be very helpful to try to get the work out there.
Because most of the translators I know are working to the university, so they don't have time, and most of the times they are not really interested.
Right. So let me ask this question. Why do we care so much about the US and the UK?
I don't.
Okay. Good answer.
But actually, I really don't.
Yeah.
I mean, my competitor, Ajon, he is always saying that, I'm selling to UK, I'm selling the British publishers, the American publishers. But I really take the serious, happiness when I get the Malayalam language edition. I like the Chinese editions. I like Arabic editions, and there are a lot more people, speaking different languages. It's not the American world rolling the thing. And I know this, and I'm saying this because I don't think any British American publisher will be interested in a debut novel without any book translated into other languages. So you should sell the book to easy to sell countries, then like the neighboring countries usually, and then you can give a try to American publisher English translation. So I do care about them, but I am passionate.
I do care about them as well, because it's a practical reason. One, as soon as a translation is available in English, the whole world is open to you. You can offer it to any publisher in any country. Secondly, I think it's just a pity they miss out so much on so much good stuff, the Americans, in English, because there's so much literature going on they don't know about. which has been translated in so many countries, in so many languages, but not in English. And so that's, I feel pity for you. It's boring, your market.
But maybe I should add that I represent more than 100 writers from Turkey, and half of their books are whole book. I have the English manuscripts, so I invest a lot in translation. I pay the translation. I have the good quality translation, very detailed summaries to go to the translator. So without that translations, they just ignore me. And it's a big investment, but it pays back. So I'm very happy with my investment.
Let me ask, assuming there's a handful of editors out there in the English-speaking languages who care about translation, and I would suggest there are, what do you hear from them about what they want from any particular culture? We've heard a little bit about typical Greek culture, maybe, but what is an editor looking for? What have you heard?
Well, they want to have the title which is easy to promote. They ask. I mean, if the writer speaks English, if he's available to travel, if she's beautiful, these kind of sub issues. And I have two description. I like to have very Turkish title. Very Turkish title. What is very Turkish title? So you need to have the Kurdish problems, the poor people, and all the question mark topics about Turkey. They like to hear how we suffer in Turkey. But then if they are young, if young editors, they go different. A very modern style. It could be like the British style of novels, but it depends on the catalog they have. Since I have many writers, so I choose the suitable one for their list.
Any other thoughts on what editors are looking for and the responsibility of the agent in presenting work?
Actually, I'm not too interested in what editors want. They must be interested in what I have to offer to them. And it's quality, and that's what counts. And don't come around, it has to be Turkish, it has to be Czech or something. The book is good, it's either good or bad. That's the main thing, and you like it or you like it not. And it's so personal to an editor. One editor can like it, and then a second editor can say it's totally shit, And I don't care, but just be honest with me. So trying to think or work in a line of what an editor wants to have, we'll get 50 Shades of Shit, I think. It's all middle of the road stuff, and I don't want to do middle of the road stuff. It's when I started to work as an agent. I came with a Czech author to say, "Is this the next Kundera?" No shit, no, it is not Kundera. It's this one, the author's name, and that's what it's about. Maybe we have to educate them as well. It's not a particular problem of English or American editors, because I meet the Dutch editors as well. Are totally ignorant of what's going on, and they say, "Well, oh yeah," but you in the long run, it pays off to hammer on. You're offering quality. That's why I'm only doing 10 authors, because I don't want to take on more. It's too demanding in time. But I only do the authors I like myself, so I can very convincingly say why I sell them, why I'm offering them to them. That is why German publishers every year want to talk to me. And they say, what's new? They never buy anything from me, but they want to know what's new, because maybe one day I have an author or a book and they say, well, this is it. But why do the major publishers in Germany, like Surkamp, and my colleague has the same experience, do Surkamp, Kiwi Verlag, Pieper, DTV, the big ones, they come to us, they say, come have an appointment in Frankfurt. We don't have the problem you have. Maybe it's a geography thing, but we both work on just the basis we're offering quality. We don't offer this middle of the road thing. And you should buy it because it's not middle of the road. Because if you want to buy middle of the road, go shop somewhere else.
Maybe it's your attitude that appeals to them. They like that kind of macho.
Maybe.
I think it's great. I think it's very important to kind of push it out there.
No, I think that Germans are very interested. That's what I said. I mean, they are also asking for appointments always.
You've done
every
very
year.
well in Germany.
Yes,
You've sold a lot of Greek books.
No, but I have agreement. I have
Like
appointments.
to see you.
They want to know. I recognize. They I want to know what will happen. But when I began the agency, I had only literary authors, only authors that I really liked. And then because I'm seeing, I'm having appointments. I mean, I don't have as many as I wish, but I have appointments, I know people. Because of the asking, I mean, they asked me different authors, more commercial, more... so I have a lot of kind of authors now. I'm selling historical novels I didn't have in the beginning. So it's also a question of demand.
Aside from the seeming interest of Germans, where do you guys see international writing moving more? Specifically the writing you're representing. Do you feel like there are countries with a greater desire for world literature, for literature from your particular countries?
Well, for Turkey, our neighboring countries are quite interested because the editors' mothers watch Turkish soap operas at home, so they would like to have some Turkish novels for their moms reading, but it depends on the market. I mean, of course, it is quite easy to sell to Bulgaria. It's easy to sell to Romania because half of the market is translated. So it is the same. Turkey is the 50 or 55% of translation. So all the British publishers want to sell their books to Turkey because they know that they can sell. They can because there are people who are looking forward to that. But try to reach these 3 points percentage translated fiction here in UK. It is difficult. But recently I sold to China a lot. China is one of my big country right now. To Arabic, which is obvious, Turkey and Arabic brotherhood. But it wasn't like that. I mean, I went to Cairo Book Fair 7 years ago, and there was only Orhan Pamuk translated into Arabic. Now you can find like 100 books translated into Arabic. It is the same to Romania. Like 7 years ago, there was only Elif Shafak and Orhan Pamuk, and now you can find 20 big names, Turkish names in Romanian market. So we are building up actually the bookshelves, Turkish literature, and I represent many commercial titles as well, because I believe that we need bad literature as well to market turning. We need money, in our cases to invest in good literature. So it should be both ways in my strategy.
Any other thoughts from our other panelists on this?
Well, I agree with Asia and the Arabic countries. It's an upcoming market, and it's very nice to see that Egyptian publishers come to me as well, and they want to buy Czech books and publish them. And it's a potential of how many? 300 million readers. Of course, half of them can't read, but who cares? We still. Even if 1% would buy books, you still have enough of them. And China, of course, and Korea.
Did you remind the publishers that all those people can't read when you go?
They tell them myself because they say, well, don't have high hopes for any royalties. But it's a new market. It's something that they have to start from scratch actually, which is very interesting. If you one way can participate in by selling some rights to them or selling rights, you're giving the rights. You don't just sign for some royalty percentage because you can't ask them for money actually. But it's great they're making ground now, and the same is happening with China, of course, or Japan now coming up. More interest. Korea, if they don't get into war, they will publish some Czech books as well. So I think, and overall, I see. Well, maybe it's wishful thinking, but what I see, I do focus on Germany, but in Western Europe as well, it's a general trend. I think people get fed up with all this middle of the road thing. So as long as we keep on with our good things, one day will come, because I think they're lacking the knowledge. So they don't understand that the public doesn't want all the time middle of the road, either on television or all this or in reading. So there will be a demand for good things again, and it will grow again. And then I can come up and say, well, I have these Czech readers who are totally strange to you maybe, but they will appeal to a large audience. So I'm very positive and hopeful for the future.
That's great. Any final thoughts before we open it up to the audience for Q&A?
Well, I mean, I can add. I mean, I travel a lot. I check how many times I've been abroad last year. It is 24 different international trips. So it's a lot of traveling, but I like to go to the country to learn about them. I mean, it's not only like I am Turkey, I'm waiting for you, I have good literature. No, I go there and I learn about their market. I learn about their writers, so I can talk about the Polish literature for half an hour. I can talk about Danish literature. If I now impress them with my their local literature information, they will be more interested to learn about Turkish literature. And it's also a good way to get in touch with the translators and literary journalists.
Can I add one practical point? Because for about 4 years ago, for us, for me and my colleague, the English-American market seemed impenetrable. You can penetrate to that. What they did is a very simple thing, is that Literature Across Frontiers, they invited over to Prague 10 publishers from the UK, not big publishers, but publishers who are basically interested in foreign fiction. They gave them, of course, a kind of tourist trip, but also there was an opportunity to meet up with all the authors who we thought would be interesting for them. And in the end, it resulted in a couple of publications here in the UK, so it pays off. But what I've said in the beginning, we're missing the link to the readers. There is something missing there.
Any thoughts on how to build that link to the reader? And I'm not suggesting through publishers, but in advance, do you think there are ways that any of you can start building recognition for the literature of?
I think they should try to muscle in more, for instance, on festivals like the Hawaii Festival. I know it's very difficult, but it is a possibility to get writers over there. Secondly, you should more in your promotion as a country you do, because you can't demand it from our agents, but if you want to promote your own literature, don't just talk to publishers, but get on board, get the critics on board, get the booksellers on board as well. But personal contact is very, very important in that case. If they know the author and they see it on a pile of 20, I know this name, I talked to them on this and party, then he may be more inclined to write a review on it. Why is Dutch literature so popular in America now?
Just the Herman Koch.
Yeah, I mean, Arnon Grunberg is doing as well.
Arnon Grunberg? I was Arnon Grunberg's agent. I can tell you that it took years to get him back into print. And I don't know if Chad Post is here, who bought the last one. I can't imagine that Chad has printed more than 3,000 copies.
Okay, but his last novel is got a great review in New York Times.
Right.
So, but also in numbers, a lot of Dutch authors are being published in the UK and America. And don't tell me our literature, Dutch literature, I'm a bit patriotic, is so wonderful. It's good, but it's not better than Turkish or Greek literature. But so what makes the difference? Money, and ambition, and a good literary foundation who puts a lot of money into it and take the authors, take the mountain to Mohammed, meaning take the authors to the publishers.
Right.
The difference between Greece and Turkey is mostly that.
Money. We have money. Our is very rich.
So on that final note, that money makes the world go round in terms of selling books.
Yes, but it stops abruptly. Brusquement.
Okay. I wonder if we have questions for these agents. Hello, sir. There should be a mic. There. Thank you. Mike lady.
I'd like to ask if the panel could say anything about the challenges of selling a translation to a country where there are no translators. I know Orhan Pamuk, for example, he's translated from English into Danish, where I'm working for a Danish publisher. Mo Yan, the Chinese author, he's translated from English into Danish. Does this represent a specific problem for agents when there are no translators to translate the literature?
Well, it does, of course. There are some countries where there are not Czech translators. I think in Turkey there isn't any Czech translator, or maybe one he doesn't want to do it. But then it's a matter of the author. If he is authorizing, for instance, the English or French translation of his work, or whatever translation is available to do as a German translation, if he authorizes that, but I don't decide it for him. I don't take it into account when I approach Turkish publishers. I'm not going to sound out first if there are any translators, because actually that's a problem of that should be solved by the publisher. But in the end, if it comes to that, then and the publisher wants to do it, we have to find a solution. But it's more a thing that the final say the author has into it.
Well, I would like to add, you were talking about Dutch literature. I know a lot about Dutch literature. I sold more than 50 titles from Dutch into Turkish. And like 10 years ago, all the Dutch books, Cessna Tobum and the other big names are translated through German. Turkish publishers do that. They use a second language to translate, and I'm fine with that because there was no translators available at that time. Then the foundation, Great Dutch Foundation, work on workshops for translators. They started to give grants that, and now there are like 5-6 very good translators. And what's happening is, if the translation was bad, through German, they translate it again. So this is happening, and for me, it's since I have the English manuscripts always. I mean, all my titles. So I send the. I know that there is no translator from Turkish to Chinese, so they have to translate from a language, and if it is is fine, so they can do that.
Anyone else? Oh, come on. Three agents, a lot of translators, no questions?
No, we've said it all.
Really? Here we go. In the front row.
Not really a question, but an observation. As a translator, and I'm sure speaking on behalf of a lot of other translators here, just going on from what you were saying earlier, many of us would absolutely be very, very keen to work with literary agents in these countries and help promote literature, because we're all as passionate about it as you are. And the more people you have working on a book, working to promote it, the better. So, there's hundreds of us here. Find us and talk to us and work with us, because we'd love to do that.
Other comments or questions from our audience? Sir, you in the front row.
I can make myself heard here, but I don't know maybe...
I think we need the mic so everyone else can hear you.
I'm going to suggest a model which actually cuts you guys out, and I'm wondering whether you think it's at all realistic, and that is the crowdfunded. And specifically, there's a British publisher called Unbound Books who have set this up as it's the Kickstarter for literary projects, where an author will go and say, I want to write this book, and on the gateway, potential readers will stop by and think, is that the kind of book that I might like to read when it gets written? And they've been successful in their first couple of years. Now, I'm wondering, as a translator myself, whether I want to be bothered with that sort of thing. But I'm also wondering whether you as agents think that it is a realistic model.
Really?
A realistic model. Do you think that that's a way to get the readership to put their hands in their pockets?
You want to comment? Shall I comment on it from my experience? Is that you should be open to all options, I think, and see what's going around. One of the similar things I talked about 2 years ago when I was at London Book Fair is a web page. It's called 10pages.com, where you publish 10 pages of it. It can be a translation as well, and people can buy shares of it. And if you get enough shares, a publisher has committed himself to publish the book. So the only problem is always time. I don't have time to do all these things.
Yeah.
But I think of it, I have some unpublished translations by myself, which I would like to do, but you have to put in some time, some work in it. But you should be open to all these things. The same I talked with Ira and with you before. Just think about the possibility Amazon has. If you translators here, you have translated books which are not available anymore. You can make a deal with the author and say, because you're the rights owner of the translation, why don't put it on Amazon? Not of making money, but making the book available for eternity, actually. And so what? Amazon takes 60%. You get a couple of bucks, you buy a beer, you go with your author, and everybody's happy. You already got paid for the translation 10 years ago. So, but just the fact that the translation is there again, your book is again there, and it will never disappear again. The e-book will be forever. That's great. I think Amazon is destroying a lot, but offers also kind of unknown opportunity to us translators. That's the thing I want to do as well with my old translation, but I don't have the time to do it all. So come work with me. I don't pay you anything, but come work with me.
Yes, it's the same for journalists. They can come work for me too, but I cannot offer any. But yes, I think that a promotion has to be global for every country. I mean, it has to be of the culture, of the style of lifestyle. Yes, a style of life, let's say, because not in the same sense. We have to promote, for example, Greece now, it is crisis. What is crisis? Crisis is not being poor, just being poor. It's just being poor after having as value only money. That's the crisis. So this is a creativity point. I have a lot of authors who are writing about that. I mean, their subjects are different, but they come to this point. Even with not yet the big force to tell it exactly. But for each country, we have to promote this, the idea of every country in that moment. In that moment, we are.
I got a particular good example of crowdfunding, or actually private funding, talking about Arnon Grunberg, who won several literary prizes, who just, as a rule, a part of the money, it's about 50,000 euros, part of the money he dedicates to a translation, which is just great, because he makes it possible that the translator, mainly for Polish literature, because he knows the Polish translator is a friend of him, but he makes it available, affordable, to have a book published that normally wouldn't be published. So maybe these rich authors who aren't here now, but they should think about it as well. Why not? You know, we're all fighting the same cause of getting good literature in the world. So what Arnon Grunberg does, this small Dutch guy, I'm sure that the UK and Americans can do it better and put in more money.
Hello.
Hi. On a purely practical note, you say that you work with translators, you need samples and stuff to take to book fairs. Is there a particular time of year when you're really, really looking for translators because you need to get all your stuff together, or is it more on as you acquire a new author that you start to kind of, as soon as you've got the rights for their book or to represent them, you will start to get your samples and your promotional materials together all throughout the year?
Can I answer that? I get this question always, especially the young translator ask me, I mean, when the time, and my answer is yesterday. Yesterday is the best answer, because agents, I mean, book fairs are important, but we work 300 days a year, and we use these samples not only during the fair, but before the emails and, you know, offering the books. So it's yesterday.
In the back.
Thank you. We touched upon the question of money a few times today, and I just wanted to ask, because we know publishing industry is changing beyond recognition, and we all know money is not everything, but if you can't survive doing what you're doing, then you can't do your job. So how easy or how difficult it is to survive doing what you're doing, and did it used to be more difficult or easier?
It's me.
All of you.
Well, when I started, first 3 years I got money from my father, I mean, to pay my bills, because I needed to travel to the book fairs, but I didn't have money. I didn't sell the big deals. I only started to, you know, earn money last year, but still my income is 20% is from selling Turkish writers abroad, but 80% selling foreign literature into Turkish, which makes me survive.
You cannot live in selling Greek authors. I thought it was clear. But even selling rights in Greece, I was able to live on my job 5 years after I began. I used to live in France then. When I created the agency, I used to live in France. But I was working between France, Greece and France.
If you're really talking about time spent on and the work you put in, this work as an agent, it doesn't pay off at all. And so you have to I make money mainly because I'm a translator, and Dutch translators are pretty well paid, fortunately, and we get good grants. But so I can't make a living out of just being an agent for these authors. Though I had a stroke of luck, one of my authors sold about 70,000 copies in Spain. So one day I was thinking of leaving, going for the Bahamas, but of course that doesn't go on. And so you have to be lucky as well. But as long as it's more or less break even, if you don't think about all the time you spend on, but you can pay the bills. And I'm only here in London because I'm invited. Everything is paid for, because otherwise I wouldn't be here. Because the only thing it's interesting for me to go to Frankfurt, because all of the publishers will be there as well. So you have to make a choice. But as long as it's more or less break even, I like to do it. And but if I can't make money with translation, I have to think of doing something else. So
I think, given what's going on over there, which is really kind of weird, we should shut this down. So thank you, each and every one. This has been really helpful. Thank you all for attending. And in 15 minutes, we have a panel on Asia. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.